Zambia was the hub of a project called Program for Innovative Cooperation Among the South. As part of that, there was something called Peak Performance Program, where you taught leadership skills and so on. I was able to mobilize a good core of UN system and government of Zambian people and Zambians. And the net result was to introduce this concept of leadership grooming on the continent. The core element of it was called the Otto Essien Young Professionals Program. The core element of all of what I have done in leadership development, growing the next generation, is what is documented in this book. From Malaysia to Mauritius to Zambia to the rest of the continent, to Senegal and all of that. And the stories of this experience is what is the essence of it? The core element of the leadership development, grooming the next generation, is basically something very simple, but we don't do enough in Africa: internship. Internships, on-the-job training, exposure of the young people to real life situation, involving them in the kinds of issues you're tackling. Because it's only when they're working along with you, they get that exposure to understand what we're dealing about. So internship development is what is critical. Concretely, what are we talking about? I will read to you a couple of examples of those who undertook some of the internship training in Zambia, in Zimbabwe, and in other countries. And also with the private sector, it was not limited to government. So what came out was that you have to implicate our young people in real life issues, problems to be solved, and it's not just the academic. And they can only get it through a hands-on. I understand you all do some workshops here where you bring some of our government officials for on the job. What this is, you are preparing the next generation. When I say the growing of Africa's emergent leadership, growing means development and promoting them. They are emergent because they are not there yet. They are not there yet. There's a tendency today for our young people to think they can finish a BA degree or MA and go and be a minister. Well, they can't, because they are not there yet. They may not realize it, but they are not there yet. So I call it the growing, development, and promotion of a new leadership for the continent. Emergent. And it's a new leadership because of the challenges that they have to face, that probably my generation. When I finished my studies, I went back to Liberia. I worked at the Ministry of Planning and Economic Affairs as a senior planning officer. I wasn't made any minister. I tell them all the time that. But you grow into leadership. You learn from your mentors, and this is so important. And so what I will do is I will read you just one or two examples or stories. Some internship taking place in Kamesa, where a young person, I think this is a Zambian, page 59, he tells about what he learned. I'm reading you a couple of examples because you will see the concept of development and promotion. This is what I call growing, Growing, the growing of the next generation of leadership. This is Albert from Zambia, Kalua. Yes. During my internship at the Zambia-Malawi Growth Triangle, by the way, this is my other passion is regional integration, micro-regionalism, again coming from the Asian experience. Myself and a Ghanaian worked on this in Zambia, Zambia-Malawi Mozambique Growth Triangle. And as part of this, what one did is involve at the Zambian Investment Center, it was based, you involve some of the young people in this. This is part of their training and learning. And this is a report from a young fellow. During my internship at ZMMGT, I must say that I both developed new skills and honed on the already existing ones. I had not only gained but also literally built upon existing skills and applied them to my placement organization. I have also become more practical than theoretical, more action-oriented than just academic focused. I have learned much about the functions of a donor agency, the internal politics, the barriers, and how they deal with non-governmental organizations and other recipients of funds. It was interesting to see through the rules and guidelines for donor funding to different projects. What further interested me was to see how strategy and politics play an important role in dispersing donor funds. This knowledge will aid me directing my efforts, searching the solutions to problems, looking for new opportunities within the domain of poverty alleviation in the economy. Here is a Zimbabwean, Lina Samshia. Some of you may know that name, a very fine young Zimbabwean. Huh? Hers was a professional attachment where she developed a mentorship program to be applied to Africa-wide. I had an Africa-wide program based in Zambia, but it was Africa-wide, where we covered on a regional basis exposure of young Africans from all over the continent, different countries, different areas. Hers represents an example of an effort to share a success story from one country, Zimbabwe, to another, and brings in the dimension of mentorship to the pilot program as well as South-South exchange. Lina was at the time the coordinator of the Building Opportunities on Student Talent Boost Fellowship in Harare, Zimbabwe. Any of you heard about it? Boost Fellowship, very dynamic young Zimbabwean. And she was a member of the Eastern and Southern African cell of the joint UNDP UNESCO project. From Zambia, I moved to Senegal. And I took the Zambian experience and I took some Zambians with me and we spread it to other parts of the continent, operating out of UNESCO as a joint UNDP UNESCO project. I was the project coordinator. Again, taking the experience of how we have grown and developed young Africans from all over the continent.